everybody. Welcome to my August reading vlog. So far as the month starts, I am already in the middle of 2 books. The first book is for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, and that is Water for Elephants by Sara Gruen. So far, it's kind of by the numbers. I expect to give this 3 stars and not really think of it ever again. It's passable. And next, I am reading the book 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. It is the story of the Trojan War through women's perspectives entirely, that being goddesses, nymphs, and mortals. And so far it is pretty good. I have read a couple of Natalie Haynes' other books, that being The Children of Yocasta and her non-fiction work, and so far 1,000 Ships is 100 times better than those other ones. I think it's because it's her most recent book. I plan to read another one of her fictions later, because so far I'm actually enjoying 1,000 Ships. There's parts of it, though, that are a little bit complainy on the characters' parts, and it's a bit too modern for me. Like, Calliope, one of the muses, all she does is complain, and I don't like that. And I understand, I believe it was Ovid who made Penelope write letters to Odysseus. Like, that was one of his writings. It's one of the, ancient scholarly texts about Penelope and Odysseus. But I cannot stand every single modern iteration having Penelope write little letters to Odysseus. It's kind of annoying. I would just like to see, her doing her own damn thing without him, writing letters to him constantly. I want to see how smart she is and clever she is, instead of just, "Dear Odysseus, I hope you're having fun screwing that one girl." Ugh. So that's my month so far. Let's see what I do for the rest of the month. Live fast, die clown. Since last speaking to you, I have read those books that I mentioned, and then I read an entirely different one. I'm sleeping horribly, so it's just been a few days of me living in hell. So I thought I would talk about the books while I do my face routine. My face wash. I use these things called products. So I finished 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes, and I gave it 4 stars. It was alright. I mean, it's pretty cool that she was able to put all of the Trojan War women into one story and kind of have it mostly be linear. She even found random stories in the Trojan cycle that I didn't even know about, like random female characters. They had their own little chapter, which was pretty cool. But she fell into a lot of the stereotypes of the Greek mythical characters, and I guess they exist for a reason, and they're interesting to other people, but I like to have some nuance sometimes. Cool, hating Helen is pretty basic and boring. If you want to be a real girl boss, maybe don't hate Helen for something that she didn't decide to do. And the whole hating Cassandra thing, I get it's part of her curse. And this story actually did her a little bit better than other ones do. They still made her crazy bonkers, but, I didn't really like Hecuba in this book either. So that's 4 stars for that. I am a consumer and I must use product. I also finished Water for Elephants by Sara Gruen, and I gave that 3 stars. It was a pretty basic romance set in the 1920s or whatever, about a guy who goes to a circus to work as a vet and falls in love with the married acrobat lady who works there. And it was pretty basic and boring, and it just showed that circuses back then were sucky, and the guy who led the circus was a crazy guy, and it was just really boring, and it didn't really leave a big impression on me. So that was that book. Final product to go on face. And the last book that I just finished reading today was called Daughters of Shadow and Blood 3, Elizabeth by J. Matthew Saunders. I've been reading that book series since, I believe, the beginning of this year, and I wasn't able to get access to the 3rd book through my library because they removed it for a few months. It wasn't borrowed, they just removed it for a few months, but then it was back, so I was able to snatch it before they tried to do something with it again. And it was a little bit of an anticlimactic ending. I did not like the bride in this one. She had kind of a boring storyline, was barely connected to Dracula, and they tried to put all 3 of the brides into the story at the end, and they didn't really interact or have any nuance or anything. And the big storyline at the end wasn't that compelling to me. I was still very confused, even in the third book, of like which organizations wanted to find Dracula's medallion. So it was just, 3 stars. It was fine, enough of a trilogy if you're curious about it. I like any vampire stories, especially stories about Dracula's brides, so it was pretty interesting to me. So that's it for now. I don't know what I'm going to read next. Hello, it's morning. Pardon my appearance. I was just sitting here doing my morning reading, eating a butter tart. I'm starting this book, which is Daughter of Troy by Sara B. Franklin. That name, by the way, is a pseudonym, and this is actually written by some guy. Great. But that's not the problem right now. The problem is, I just opened this book to start reading it, and it uses the F word. Not that one, the other F word. It uses it in its original definition, a bundle of sticks, but it was still pretty jarring to see in a book written in just 2002. I think that's a bad omen for this thing. I mean, I knew it was not going to be the best version of the Trojan War, Daughter of Troy. So, oh boy.
What's up? It's nighttime. I'm in bed. I just wanted to say a few things. First of all, I think I'm putting myself into a reading slump because I am reading 2 really bad books. I am reading The Daughter of Troy by Sara B. Franklin, which is actually a pseudonym for some guy, and it's about Briseis of the Iliad and her life, and it is really, really bad, and I don't like it. I will talk more about that later. But I'm also shooting myself in the foot because I am listening to the audiobook of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sara J. Maas. A lot of Sarahs. Luckily that name isn't cursed for me. But this second book so far has been worse than I could possibly imagine because not only is Feyre and Tamlin stupid, and I hate them, but Rhysand isn't a whore anymore. They took my whore away. Look at how they massacred my whore. I'm so upset. Now he's just some boring guy. Come on, I want my whore back. But on a lighter note, I just wanted to say thank you to my friend and her brother for the brand new YouTube banner that I currently have up. I might put in a picture just to show it off, but I was surprised with it this morning and it made me so happy. I can't believe someone would want to do that for me. My old banner was just my old one before I started doing YouTube, so now I have my own special banner for my booktube channel. So thank you so much. I won't say your names for your privacy, but thank you. Okay, that's it for now.
Hello, mini update time. I finished Daughter of Troy by Sara B. Franklin, and I'm giving it 1 star. It just was not very good. Briseis the entire time loved being a war bride and a sex slave, and all she did was talk about how big, wink, Achilles is, and I was very, very bored. I am still continuing A Court of Mist and Fury by Sara J. Maas, and I am so bored so far. I mean, they are literally looking for a book in a house. I'm so bored. I am so bored. So I thought that I would try out a new book, a book that might, get me out of my reading slump. Let's call it that. Alright, it's 9 in the morning. What better time than to do my wrap up? So I read 6
books this month and didn't manage to get a lot of footage for this vlog because I was a little bit busier than usual, even though I wasn't really doing much. So the first book that I read was 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes, and I gave that 4 stars. Ultimately, this was a pretty good retelling of a collection of stories from the Trojan War from female perspectives. It had pretty unique character dynamics for what the characters are in the myth. It was tasteful, it was pretty accurate, and it was ultimately enjoyable to read aside from just a few complaints. So not bad, actually one of the best fictional Greek myth retellings from a woman's perspective that I've read. Next, for my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime poster, I read Water for Elephants by Sara Gruen, and I'm only giving that one 3 stars. It was one of the most harmless things I've ever read. It was very boring, it wasn't very compelling to me. The romance was pretty predictable and weak, but at least it wasn't too toxic, and it just basically showed that circus life was not all that glamorous as it seems on the outside, so it was just a harmless book. Next, I read the 3rd book in the Daughters of Shadow and Blood series by J. Matthew Saunders. It was book 3, Elizabeth, and I only gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a bit of an anticlimactic ending, nothing really resolved well, and the previous 2 novels were really good at establishing Dracula's brides as their own people and their own stories, and this one, all it had was a very minor murder mystery, and she wasn't even connected to Dracula at all. I don't really remember meeting her and getting to know her as well as the other 2 characters. So for the most part, it was a pretty bad ending to a trilogy, but I would still recommend the trilogy to you if you enjoy stories about Dracula's brides in any capacity. Next, I read Daughter of Troy by Sara B. Franklin, aka Dave Duncan, and I'm only giving it 1 star. It was one of the most pointless Greek myth retellings I have ever read. It is from the point of view of Briseis, who is the war bride that gets in the way of Achilles and Agamemnon and causes their main conflict in the Iliad. Now, she was just obsessed with sex the entire time, and it was very grossly written sex. She was obsessed with his balls. I find that to be a very odd choice. And also they had her be very good at augury, aka making predictions and omens interpreted by dreams and animal sightings. She doesn't do that. I mean, like, a lot of Greek mythical characters can have dreams and interpret them, but she's not Cassandra level priestess expert at this shit. So I don't know why Greek myth retellings like to have that as a main plot point, but I hate it. This story was worthless and useless, and Briseis loved being a war bride, and bad. Don't read stories by men. Next, I listened to the audiobook of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. 2 stars. Jesus Christ. It is hours upon hours of slog. It is literally just, look, guys, Reese is actually a really good person because he hid all his friends in this secret, magical, perfect utopia land while a war was going on, didn't save anybody else, tortured people, and was the main bad guy's whore for 50 years. I liked the whore, okay? I don't care if it was a character he put on and he struggled with it. I like my bad boys, you know, the bad boy you're supposed to fall in love with. I want him to remain a bad boy. I don't need the entire book to justify why he's the hero now. I don't fall for the hero. Obviously, I fall for the villain. Now that he's not a villain, what is he to me? Snarky? No. And also, not a lot of porn in this fairy porn series, so what's all the hype about, guys? And then finally I read a YA vampire short story collection called Vampires Never Get Old, Tales with Fresh Bite by, I hope I'm saying her name right, Zoraida Cordova and Natalie C. Parker. It is a collection of various stories by multiple YA authors, a lot of famous ones including V.E. Schwab, that have vampires put into a new perspective, that being new, diverse
characters, and I really did like it. I gave it 3 stars. I'm probably going to do that with every single short story collection, just because there's some I like and some I don't like. And a lot of them were really, really like cute, and I liked seeing all these cute little teen characters interacting with vampires and meeting new ideas and perspectives. A lot of the vampire stories were really, really cool. My favorite one was one where a trans boy was digging through the graveyard trying to find someone whose bell was ringing because they were buried alive, and meeting a vampire in the Victorian era. I loved that one a lot. I like old style writing, and I thought that the story was unique and very cute. So that's it. That's my wrap up. The rest of my month will be busy because my partner is coming to visit after we are both vaccinated. So I'm very, very excited to be doing that. So thank you so, so much for watching, even though this vlog was a bit shorter than the rest. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time with more content. Bye bye!